do you know, it occurred to me suddenly that we as human beings have this need for violence. And we do. If you take a look back throughout all of human history, there is at one point in which peace happened constantly. We need violence to sustain us. I think there is nothing about humanity that states that we are a peace-loving race. And it's actually kind of sad because it's almost like we prepare ourselves for war constantly. It's like we live off it. This threat of violence, the threat of destruction. It makes us feel better as people. You know, and history does state that there has never been a moment in our history throughout the whole of humanity where the whole world is at peace. Constantly. It doesn't happen. If one nation is at peace, another's at war. And when that war ends, another starts. Or, you know, there is never a moment in human history where we actively go, we're not doing this. Stop. We need peace. Because we actually need violence. Violence, as far as the human race is concerned, is part of our life. We need it to moan about, to complain about. We need it to have something to talk about. You know, we need a cause. We need something that we can put our fists up and go, we're going to fight for this. It happens all the time. There is no way, there has never been a moment in history where we turn around and said, there is an injustice, we're going to do this without lifting a finger. Ever. We can do this so peacefully that it just happens. There isn't. You know, conflict happens and then there's peace. There's negotiations, there's talks, and then all of a sudden the war ends. And then another conflict starts and the peace talks start all over again. But politics is so complicated, and yet I'm pretty sure that before people go to war, they're sitting around tables talking about issues, and they don't just get up and go, oh, I'm going to go to war now, except unless you're Putin, of course, because Putin likes going to war with everybody for the sake of going to war. But we as humans do not just turn around and say, when war starts, we're not going to bother. We would rather stand up and say, we're going to fight for our nation, rather than put down arms. Both sides. Instead of both sides turning around and saying, we're not doing this. If you government, parliamentary royals, if you people want, you big men want a war, fight amongst yourselves. Because the people don't want to do it. And so we're not going to. And if all the people turn around and said, we will not war for you, we will not go to war, we will not harm people. If you want this war, go yourselves. You lot sitting up in your cabinet meetings, sitting up in your, offices and your big houses, why don't you go to war? You few. If you want this war, go yourselves. Peace talks would happen and it would get solved. And nobody, and no conflict would actually happen. But we don't. We never, ever do that. Not ever. We are more than happy as human beings, as a race, to turn around and say, yeah, we'll fight for you, we'll fight for our governments, we'll fight for our countries. So it did occur to me that as human beings, we actually thrive off conflict. We need it. Makes our lives better, more fulfilling in some way. You know, it did just occur to me that that is actually a thing. Now, when I'm saying this, I'm not saying every single human being feels this way. You know, there are some very peace-loving people out there. My sister is one of them. She hates violence in any way, shape or form, and she thinks the military are a waste of space and vile pieces of whatever. She really does feel like that, and so does her husband. You know, my brother-in-law and her are very much on the same page as that. Weapons, violence, the military are a waste of space. They should never be there. They should be disbanded. My sister and her husband very much feel like that. You know, but if every single human being in every single country felt the way they do, the only people that could actually have conflict, the only people who could actually have or attend a war, is those people sat up in their high houses and their government meetings and those parliament members, and they're the only people that could actively go to war, because we will turn around and say, nah, not doing it. You want a war so badly, you lot go. Get out of your comfort, away from your big houses and your luxury cars and your luxury everything, and you go out there and you fight these people. You fight each other. See how far it gets you. You know, now there will always be, you know, it does occur to me, and I probably am completely alone in my opinion, but that's fine. But it has occurred to me that we as human beings need conflict. It's a really strange thought to have, but I do think we need it. Because if we were such a peace-loving race, if we were so set against war, so set against violence, then we as a country, we as a whole, we as humans, wouldn't allow it. And the people up in the big houses, the government members, the parliament members, the senates, the royals, they can yell, scream and shout about war as much as they like. But if the people refuse, and I mean all the people, every member of every military, every single human being actually refused. They can't court-martial every member of the military. They can't. You know, it'd be kind of amusing if they put every single member of the military in prison for not going to war. You know, including all their generals and their, you know, ministers of war. If they put all of them in jail, there's no one to go to war anyway. You know, but it did occur to me that if we all turn around and in one voice and went, we're not doing this. If the Russian people stopped Putin, this war would be done. They could go home. You know, if the Americans stopped Trump, then we'd all the rest of the world stage would calm down. And if the people who live in these countries around the world turned around and said, we're not doing this. You people, you politicians, you senators, you members of parliament around the world want a war? Grab your guns and go. You lot go for each other and see how far it takes you. Leave us out of it. Leave all the people out of it, and all you lot go. And see how far it gets you. See what it costs you. See if it achieves anything at all. But we won't do that, because we're all doing exactly the same thing. Go! Let's go to war. We're all doing it. Every single country around the world is doing it. We're all preparing for war right at this moment. And you just sit there and think, well, then doesn't that just say that we have no issue with war? We don't like the outcome of war. We don't like the cost of war. But we have no issue going to war at all, because we're more than willing to go to war. We are more than willing to fight. So yes, this may be just my opinion, but it does occur that as human beings, we enjoy violence, we enjoy conflict, we enjoy wars. We need it to sustain us. When we've got something to talk about, like where the next conflict is, what's going on abroad, oh, this country's gone to war with this country, and oh no, this person's done that, and oh, look at that conflict over there, and look at this conflict over there, and oh no, look at the devastation these wars cause. We only ever think about the cost of war after the war's over, or when the war's been going for a long time. That's when we think about the cost of war. Before that, we don't really care about it. The cost of war doesn't even come into it. It doesn't even enter the equation until we've started the war, until the war's already started. And by then, it's too late to do anything about it. So if the whole world, if the people of the world lay down their arms, if Russian people, if the Ukrainians, if China, if England, if Saudi Arabia, if the Finns, if Greenland, if Canada, if every single country around the world, France, Germany, and every other country around the world laid down their arms and went, we're not fighting, we're not going to war, and you can't make us. This is done. The only people that can go to war, if they are so desperate for it, are the politicians, the people that sit in those cabinet meetings and talk about it and discuss it and make the decision for us. Because that's what they're doing. When they discuss wars, they make those decisions for the people of the nations. So why don't they get out of their cabinet meetings and out of their offices and out of their big homes and their comfort, and why don't they do what they want us to do? But they won't, because we are more than willing to go for them. Which suggests that we actually enjoy it. We have no issue with it. We have no problem with war. And that's a really sad thing to say. That human beings enjoy conflict. Human beings enjoy war. And human beings actually have no issues with violence on any scale until it costs us something. And by that time, it's too late. Anyway, I just thought it'd be interesting to say. Let me know if you've got any opinions in the comments.